Former Walmart executive and e-commerce billionaire Mark Lohr wants to build the world's first woke city from scratch. Somewhere in the U.S., we are going to be the most open, the most fair, and the most inclusive city in the world, Lohr said in a promotional video. The city is meant to take on what Lohr's view on the United States, the biggest challenge, the rapidly growing wealth gap, which he said is going to bring down America. The initial phase of the project, targeted for completion by 2030, would be built to accommodate 50,000 residents across 1,500 acres at a cost of $25 billion. Over 40 years, the city will eventually require $400 billion in funding and grow to house as many as 5 million people across 150,000 acres. If it's so effective, why do you need to be funded? Why do you need to be funded to build this woke city? That's what it's going to look like, by the way. Take a look at that. Wow. What a beautiful woke city that is, that needs funding from other taxpayers who are not woke.
Oh, wow.
So the only way a woke city model works, that it's funded by people who are not woke. Brilliant.
I love when the 17-year-old communist always talks about how the only reason why Cuba was unsuccessful was because of the evil embargoes from the United States. And it's like, whoa. This communist utopia needed their capitalist neighbor? What? You're not making the argument you think you're making here, man.
Have they said what state this would be in?
I would imagine Oregon, next to Portland.
Kai, can you actually go to the article to see where they're thinking about city-wise? As long as it's not in Florida and Texas, we should be fine. We just go. I'm looking to see.
And it's called Telosa. Is that a play on Tesla?
Called Telosa. Telosa. From the ancient Greek
Highest
word
purpose.
telos, meaning highest purpose. The mission of Telosa is to create more equitable, sustainable future. That's our North Star. We're going to be the most open. Okay, I read that. Equitism. Residents in turn own their own homes on the land and are enriched as home value increases according to the project site. And after a period of hypergrowth, residents can buy the land from the community endowment. Okay, if you went into the desert where the land was foundation. Okay, we don't know. Well, folks, if you're listening to this, anybody planning on going to this woke city?
It sounds like Burning Man. That's what this sounds like.
What it sounds like is you're going to get a mortgage from the city instead of a bank. It sounds exactly like what we have now, except your mortgage is to the city instead of the bank.
These guys have lost their mind, by the way, to do something like this. So, by the way, here's what I'm willing to do. Why don't we do this?
See, hold on real quick, Pat. That stuff I don't mind. Like when they start talking about New York City, every rooftop in New York City should be solar or you should have plants on it. I'm totally okay with that.
Well, there's only one problem I have with this. I actually say go do it. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, here's what I think we ought to do. You go do yours. Let us go build our own city. Let us build our own city. You go build your own. Let's make it a project. Let us go 20 years.
Sure.
We build our own city. Give us 1,500 acres. You get 1,500 acres. We get 1,500 acres.
We get 49 states. You guys get California. If communism works in 20
by the
years.
Way, I'm actually being dead serious. Yeah. If we got 1,500 acres, we got our own land that we would build. They get their own 1,500 acres.
I couldn't agree with you
Here's the difference. There's only one caveat here. One caveat. There can be zero funding from the government. Zero funding from taxpayers. You do your woke city. We do our own free thinker city. Let's see 20 years what happens. Okay, let's just see 20 years what happens. We can do whatever we can do. 20 years later, let's see what we produce.
Sure.
Let's see what you produce.
A city full of people that
let's
don't
see
want
what
to
kind
work.
of people we produce, and let's see what kind of people you're going to produce.
Word.
And who ends up recruiting who from which city. Your woke city versus the free thinker city.
There was a movie that this reminds me of. One of my favorite actors is Leonardo DiCaprio. And I don't know, 10 plus years ago, he did a movie called The Beach.
Yeah.
Which was supposed to be like this paradise.
Crazy
I think it took place in Thailand, I want to say. Mm-hmm. He was Googling
Dark
paradise.
Movie.
And he shows up, him and a friend and another girl. And they go to this city and it's this paradise and it's, egalitarian and everything's beautiful and the most pristine beaches in the world. And you're hunting and killing and finding your own food. And then it takes a very ugly turn. And where...
Human nature kicks in.
Yeah, human nature kicks in. And what's the movie where the kids, they're all on the island and they kill the fat kid because they speak with a conch? What was that movie? What was the book?
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
Very Lord of the Fly-esque type of situation. The bottom line is it starts off in this paradise type story and it's looked amazing. And by the end of the movie, everyone was freaking dead and the guys came in and killed everybody.
That's what's going to happen with this woke city.
Very ugly.
The only way
disgusting.
communism will ever work, two things have to happen. They have to take over the entire world. they have to have control of all access to opportunity worldwide. And 2, they have to do set marriages from the time you're born, lottery marriages. Because everything, literally everything that we do, everything that our species has ever done has been a competition for ovaries. That is what it is. Everything from Helen of Troy. Helen of Troy decided to go with a younger, better-looking prince, and the king of Macedonia said, "Screw that," and brought 1,000,000 troops over to Troy in 20 years. And a 20-year war.
That was in the Brad Pitt movie, Orlando Bloom. That's what it was. Yeah,
it's a little bit of an older book, but yeah. So
I know the movie was called Troy. I get it. I know it was based.
It's the Iliad, the Odyssey.
It was Brad Pitt,
it's
right?
Homer.
No,
it's fine. But yeah, no, it was Robert Zemeckis. No, but listen, literally, think about it. Everything that we do. Why do you work so hard? You work so hard to provide for your family. Why do you work out? I have been in very good shape with abs. I have been very, very fat. I'm getting back down again. Do you know why? Because there's benefits to being in better shape. You understand? Everything that we do as men, everything, we're 90% of us, there's 10% that don't play that game, but 90% of men, everything that we do is to attract the other species. If you aren't going to be born 6'9", 275 pounds, then you have to figure out a way. Warren Buffett said it best. Warren Buffett, when he talks about taxes and why he wants to give back, he's like, because I am very, very lucky that I grew up in a time where my intellect allowed me to generate wealth, because if the only way I could generate wealth was getting on a boat and storming the seas, I wouldn't have been very wealthy. I'd been very dead. So that's his idea of giving back, right? Everything that we do, everything capitalism really is fair
Good for
play.
him, by the way.
Yeah.
Good for him for saying that.
It is a fair play system to be able to compete against one
listen,
another.
Give us 1,500 acres. I'm telling you right now, if we got 1 million people in a small little country, test it out with us. Give us 20 years, see what we do. The world would want to live in our country.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be called America.
But here's the thing: America is no longer America.
Oh no.
America, unfortunately, is going in a different direction. The ideas, but there are a few things at the beginning as a case study that America could have done slightly different.
Hold on. What do you mean America's no longer America? You can't just say that and then we just gloss over it.
No. What are you talking about?
America's still America.
America is still the greatest country in the world, but America is no longer the America. America is not the America that I came to America for. Lots changed the last 30 years. A lot's changed the last 30 years.
Lots changed the last 18 months.
Yeah, a lot's changed. This is do you realize? I don't know if you really realize this. If I told you 10 years ago, the president's going to say, "I'm sick and tired. I'm losing patience with these governors who are not mandating vaccine and who are not getting their people to get vaccinated." If I told you 10 years ago,
this isn't about your
in
freedom.
about 10 years, in 2021, a guy's going to come out named Tony, okay, who's in his 80s, who's going to say, we have to mandate vaccine. If I told you 20 years ago, Nicki Minaj decides to not go to an award ceremony because she says one of her friends from Trinidad, one of her relatives in Trinidad, got a vaccine, and afterwards they couldn't have a kid because something happened. And anyways, she says, I'm worried. I'm doing my research, but I'm getting closer to feeling confident to take the vaccine. I'm willing to do my own research. And she decides not to go to a award ceremony because they wanted people to be vaccinated. Then a lady from CNN, CNBC, I don't know which one it was, MSNBC, she says, "You have a lot of followers. It's a shame. You have 22 million followers. I have 2 million followers. Shame on you for using Twitter to tell people that you could have done something about this, yet people are dying."
Yeah.
If I told you 10 years ago.
How dare you be your own person?
But if I told you 10 years ago that the idea of choices is going away, would you have said that's possible? Would you have said that's going to happen to America? The idea of having a choice is going away.
I see what you're saying there.
So
that's the whole point, is having the option or having the choice.
Bro, like the biggest...
Nobody likes mandates, being told what to do.
Let me ask you a question.
But at the same time, you can't just say, I have the choice to run the red light. I do what I want. It's like, no, there's laws.
Well, you do have the choice.
Right, exactly. I mean, then you go to jail or you car accident.
Story of my life. I have the choice, though. I'll pay the ticket. It's a story of my life. My license got suspended twice. It's my choice. It's fine, right? I have a choice. Certain areas, yes. But for me to have to put something in my body, that's not my choice.
I'm with you. You should have the choice.
Yes,
it's
here's
not
the other
about
part.
the medicine,
You know,
guys.
yes,
It's about the reaction to the medicine. It's the government reaction.
I'm talking to a guy named Michael Shermer. I don't know if you know who Michael Shermer is. Michael Shermer's he wrote that book, said Weird Things. What's the book called? Something about weird things. Anyways, very interesting guy. He went from being a Christian to being an atheist, to being an agnostic. Okay, the guy's got great ideas on what he talks, but he pushes everything back. Christianity. We had a very strong debate yesterday. He says, you know what's crazy? He says, for about a year and a half, you couldn't question the fact that the COVID may have come from China until it took a comedian to go on Stephen Colbert to talk about it, where the world finally said, we can talk about it. John Stewart says, how is that even possible? So freedom of speech in the last 24 months, very weird. Choice, very weird. These are real fundamental stuff that makes America great. These are the things that have changed. And there's a part of it where you're worried whether people are willing to fight back or just sit there, because at the end of the day, what's the first thing people think about? How do they make their decisions? They make their decisions with what?
What's the best for their family or themselves, right?
Typically, what's in it for them. So why do you think this whole idea of tax the rich is so popular? Because 90% of the country is not rich. So they're like, I don't give a shit. Go go tax everybody.
Right.
But 30 years ago, the whole idea was what? Man, one day I'd love to be what? Rich.
Yeah.
It was the story of the life of the rich and famous. People aspire to. It was like let me go one day get this kind of a lifestyle. Let me one day go to a party like this.
Today's
the other way around.
Do you think people really think $3.5 trillion in taxes are about to be levied against the American public, and it's only going to be the rich?
I got a call early this morning.
Seriously?
No, it's going to destroy everybody. Well, a small business that's making $500,000 a year. You saw Kudlow talk about it. A small business that's making $500,000 a year. You know what it means to increase their capital gains? By the way, they're already talking about they're going to backdate it to yesterday. Like this morning, I was talking to Greg. They're talking about they can backdate capital gains to yesterday. Top line taxes they're raising to 39.6. They're adding an additional 3% for people that make over $5 million a year. And then on top of that, the small business taxes, that's also being risen by, I think it's like 6.5%, some number like that. 6% they're increasing it.
But this is just a proposal. This is nowhere near passing.
It's no longer just a proposal now. It's getting to a point that it could be passed before 1/1.
The only thing that's stopping it is Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is the only thing
He's literally the only person. Again, he's literally the only person that's doing. So when you ask me about America, a lot's changed the last 24
People
months.
that think that this is only going to be the rich need to look at one thing. All right, I sent you guys this last night. Biden directed the Treasury, his Treasury and the IRS, to start tracking all transactions for bank accounts as low as $600. Meaning if you put $100 in to Dogecoin and it's 6x, then you got $600.
For crypto only?
No, it's for everything, but it's also tracking crypto for the first time. You put $100 into whatever, to Dogecoin. You hit the lotto, $600, you pulled it out. All right, they're going to come at you for $150. You made a $100 investment. You 6x'd. Congratulations, kid. You're an 18-year-old. They're going to want $150 in taxes on that, and then back pay. Like they're coming. So people that think that this is only a soak the rich type of a situation, bro, they're tracking you down to $600 in your account.
By the way, listeners, I got a question for you. To you, define rich. What is rich to you? I'm curious. Actually, put a number to it. Okay, like you know how they say this person's tall. What would you say is tall? What height would you say is tall?
Depends on where you are. But playing ball, like really.
What's tall in America?
Well, this is the thing. So when Hillary Clinton was coming out with this whole, if you're a dual family in America and you make a combined $100,000, you're wealthy. This was like 8 years ago. I remember I was playing ball in Iowa at the time, and I was like, you know what, $100,000 in Iowa, you're pretty rich. $100,000 in North Jersey, you're just paying the bills.
What would you say is tall? What's tall in America?
I get what you're saying is that there's no exact answer.
Is it 6 feet? Is it 11?
Tall, then you could say 6'10" is tall.
I think 6 is tall.
I don't think 6 is tall. I think 6 is above average.
5'10" is the average male's height in America. 5'9", 5'10".
5'9".
Okay, 6 is tall.
I'd say anything over 6'3" is tall.
No, I don't. I think you're 6. That's what you're saying, because you are 6. I think 6 is tall. But here's the thing. What is rich? I'm actually curious what people say here. $1 million is rich. $10 million is rich. $5 million is rich. $100 million at least. Daniel says $10 million in assets. Over $1 million, says Valeria. Over $1 million. Okay. Augustine says $5 million.
So if you have $1 million, what is that? That's $50,000 a year for 20 years. That's what you're.
But here's the point, though. Corey McDougal says $300,000. Ethan Eads says $35,000. Ricky Aguirre says $500,000.
Yeah, Ricky Aguilar.
No, not Ricky Aguilar. Ricky Aguirre. Ricky Aguirre says $500,000. Here's the point.
Yeah.
Who the hell decides what's rich?
Right.
Okay, because to me, AOC, when I was working at Bally's, AOC's rich. Are you kidding me? Because when I worked at Bally's, the guy I was looking up to was a guy named Robbie Solomon. He had been at Bally's for nearly 20 years. He was an area supervisor, something everyone aspires to be. Guess what he was making? $150 a year after 20 years. And the pitch was, Patrick, one day you can be an area supervisor. One day you can be an area supervisor making $150 a year. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, $150 freaking a year? Are you kidding me? This is insane if I make that kind of money. Because I was making 36.
Right.
$150 is a lot of money. But you know what it is when you make $150? It ain't a lot of money. So what is rich? And who defines what's rich?
Yeah.
On a global scale, everybody in America is mega wealthy.
Everybody in America is rich, right?
On a global scale.
But the challenge with that is a politician dictates what's rich. A politician dictates, to me, the average person, I'm sorry, Nancy Pelosi is super rich. Elizabeth Warren, rich.
Super rich.
You got Bernie Sanders, super rich. You got AOC, rich. You got a lot of people that are rich. So who dictates what that number is? Is it like, you know how you said you're 6 feet and you said, I think 6'2" is tall? It's the same exact concept.
Right.
It's what
There's
they say.
no exact answer.
No. It's always more than what you have.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
the problem.
That's
You
what's
just
rich.
nailed it.
More than
what
me.
you did is what they do with
point.
taxes.
Good
It's
point.
always a little bit more than what you are. You naturally, I ask you, what's tall? You said what? 6'2". I don't think 6 is tall. I'm like, what are you talking about? Guy's like 5'9" and a half, 5'10". And you say what? No, I think 6'2" is tall. I said, no, 6 is tall, right? To them, they say, no. Elizabeth Warren, I'm worth $5 million. $20 million is rich. Then Nancy Pelosi makes a phone call to Elizabeth Warren. Hey, Elizabeth Warren, you give me $20 million. I'm like, I'm worth 50. Why don't we do 75? $75 million is rich. What the hell is rich? Anything above you is rich.
Good
you make
point.
$2 million, $5 million is rich. So this is a bunch of bullshit with this whole concept of taxing the rich. Anything above them that they don't have to pay the price, let's tax those guys.
That's a really good point.
You don't run a business, you're not affected by capital gains. Screw the guys that get capital gains. Affect those guys. You're not affected by running a business, hiring people, raising the minimum wage. Who gives a shit? Raise minimum wage. It's okay. We're not affected by it. Let's raise the federal minimum wage to $15. In DC, $15 is nothing, but in Iowa, $15 minimum wage is a lot of money. That small business owner got crushed by Walmart. That's the stuff that a lot of people
everything
don't
you're
think
saying-
about.
Over there progressives. Over there. I call them
Exactly.
over there progressives.
Everything you're saying, it can be applied to any topic. The money thing, abortion, taxes you're talking about, schools, guns, the Bible, everything. As long as it's what they're doing and it's not me, it doesn't affect me.
Sure.
Like what's going on in Texas right now with abortions. No, you shouldn't be able to have abortion 6 weeks. It's like, well, what happened to the lady that was raped by her uncle and she has incest in Texas, and she's found out, 2 months after. She has no say in this, so it's always something that doesn't happen to you and something happens to everybody. What is that called?
What you guys are
What is that?
What you guys are discussing is the very basis of my worldview. Why I
Libertarian?
believe the way I believe, right? And I'm a libertarian most of the way, except I don't believe in the non-aggression principle, right? But there is no way to centralize government. There's no way to take every single aspect of our society and filter it through the minds of these geniuses, which is what we're experiencing is an educational narcissism, the likes of which we've never seen. We have an entire system of people who went to school and then they went to college and then they went to law school and then they became lawyers and then they got elected and they're in this cycle.
Can you pull up abortion? What percentage of abortions are rape?
So they get into this cycle where everybody throughout their whole life has told them they're smart and they're special. So now they think that they're so smart and so special that no matter how many times centralization has failed, they're going to be the ones that figured it out. They're going to be the ones that get it right this time. I don't believe that they can. I think there's too many variables at play. So what I believe in is you do you and I'll do me. Do no harm. If it doesn't affect me, you're welcome to do it. If you think that there is a real problem with income inequality in the world, help the poor. Don't steal from your neighbor and then give somebody else money. Oh, by the way, take a couple bucks for yourself for the effort, right? And say that you're doing something virtuous. You're not virtuous at that point, right? So anybody who wants to do anything, I'm the biggest advocate for charity. I'm the biggest advocate for volunteerism. Anything that you want to do, advocate for it, but stop short of mandating it. Stop short of making it a law.
Libertarian.
That's it.
Yeah. Here, look at this. USA Today, just 1% of women obtain an abortion because they became pregnant through rape, but less than 0.5% do because of incest, according to the Gut Institute. Yet the battle over exceptions for both has garnered outsized attention in national abortion debate. Interesting. So 1% is rape, 0.5% is incest. So in the topic of rape. You kind of brought that up. So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.